Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So today we are talking about the 5 current things that you need to know before making a move and purchasing a home here in Maryland. So we're going to jump into that right here in a second. If you have any real estate questions, if you are considering purchasing a home or making a move here to Maryland and you have any real estate questions and want to chat about buying or selling a home here in Maryland, feel free to reach out anytime. We absolutely love helping out with any questions that you may have about making that move and buying or selling real estate here in Maryland. So the first thing that we are going to talk about today is interest rates, how that's impacting our market here so you know what to expect. So I wish I could tell you that higher interest rates, which we're sitting right about high 6s, almost approaching 7 right now, in mid to approaching end of July 2023. I wish I could say that that has slowed or equaled out, leveled out the market a little bit, but it has not. So we are still in a very, very extreme seller's market, right around in most counties about a month of inventory, which is very much a seller's market. So it favors the seller right now. We're still seeing a lot of multiple offers, multiple bids above and beyond a list price. So just kind of having that in mind, knowing what you're walking into there can be helpful. So things have not slowed down yet. So when it comes to interest rates, as mentioned, we're still sitting right around 7. Kind of what that's done is that has really slowed and kind of kept a lot of people on the sidelines when it comes to, listing their home and kind of feeling, comfortable and financially able to go out there and make that move as far as whether that's downsizing, upsizing, whatever that may be. So it's keeping inventory very, very, very low, but there's still, their demand has gone down too. But relative to the amount of supply that's gone down, it still looks like the real estate market here in almost all of Central Maryland is still white hot. So kind of being prepared for that extreme seller's market going in, having to compete, having to deal with multiple offers is something that I think is helpful to know when coming into this real estate market. All right, number 2 on the list of things to be aware of coming here into Maryland is going to be new construction and what to expect, as far as inventory of new construction. So in Central Maryland, we do have some new construction, but I always like to let people know that we don't have a ton. It's a very established market here. We have a ton of existing homes already throughout most of Central Maryland, from Baltimore on down to DC. So although we do have some new construction, it's going to be pretty limited. So when you're looking to purchase that home, you're going to see the majority of the inventory through just traditional resale properties. So now a couple things to note when it comes to new construction. One is if you are looking for new construction, this is a good way to kind of have more of a first come, first serve opportunity or style of home purchasing if you're willing to go in there and look at new construction. So that's something to kind of be aware of, because on the resale side, we're still seeing a ton of multiple bids, bidding over, above and beyond asking price and list price. So that's something to keep in mind, where you kind of have more of that traditional style, kind of walking in, dealing with the builder, and then first come, first serve style of home purchasing. So something to consider when it comes to new construction. But as mentioned, there's not going to be a whole lot. And a lot of our new construction tends to be kind of pushing on the outskirts of kind of where a lot of people traditionally want to be, right? So, you've got a lot of new construction maybe in, say, Frederick, Western Howard County, things like that, where typically people are going to want to be a little more centralized and closer to your shopping, your retail, a lot of your job opportunities and things of that nature. So if you're looking for new construction, there is that opportunity, but it's, typically going to be longer drive times, kind of on the outskirts of where, typically the most demand of where people want to be is. And then the other thing to consider with new construction is that there's just not a ton of affordable options. So, just to give you an example, sitting here in Howard County, we've got some new construction in a community called Turf Valley. It's a great area, awesome area. I'd highly recommend it. But when it comes to affordability, it's just not, it's not there at all. So you've got, townhomes right in the Turf Valley area starting at 7 going on, into the 800,000 range. And then the new construction single families are stretching, well north of $1 million. So it's not a huge opportunity for people who are looking to kind of get into that entry level first time home buyer price point. It's very much on the higher end of things. So, and that tends to be a lot of the new construction. It's going to be at the higher price point of most markets where you're going to see that new construction. So something to keep in mind, when you're thinking about, where your price point is, what you're going to be looking to purchase at. It's going to be mainly resale. There is going to be some of that new construction. It's just going to be a pretty small percentage of the available inventory. All right, number 3 on the list is going to be trying to look into maybe some of the more hidden gem towns and or neighborhoods within Central Maryland. So, just as an example, there's, we get a lot of calls on people coming here to the area and, they want to be in Howard County for various reasons and all for good reasons. But the competition is just very, very, very steep and stiff in that particular location. Just to kind of give you, an example of an area here in the Central Maryland area. So stretching it out, maybe having a conversation, hey, like what does our drive time look like? Are we willing to maybe stretch that out a little bit? And then looking into areas such as Mount Airy. Mount Airy is a great area, is kind of right in the middle of Ellicott City. And Frederick, it's still, doable commute, 35-ish minutes to your Fort Meade area, which is a popular kind of region of people coming here to the area, whether they're military, contractor, government work. That's still a doable drive, where you've got Mount Airy and you've got Frederick part, you've got a Carroll County part, and you've got the most western part of Howard County part. But there's some really nice neighborhoods, especially in that Carroll County part, where you still got very good rated schools. I'd encourage you to hop onto greatschools.org and just kind of see what that looks like and see if that meets the needs that you're looking for when it comes to, school ratings in any area. But that's one example, is kind of, Mount Airy. Looking into that, it's a little more of a drive, but you've got some newer homes. You've got some very, very nice communities where you've got less competition out there because it's a little more of a commute. It's a little more of, off people's radars. So thinking about that, and then sticking with the example of people coming here to Central Maryland for that Fort Meade or that general Central Maryland work, is going to be areas like Severna Park. You've got Arnold. Parts of Odenton are very, very nice and just have a little less competition. People just aren't typically looking to kind of target those areas as much, but they're still very, very family friendly, very, very nice locations to kind of do some more research on. So kind of, looking into those areas, seeing, if that's something that you're willing to do, whether it's that drive time or whether it's just something that's not as much information out there about those areas. So thinking about that, and if you ever have any questions about any specific locations, feel free to reach out and we can have targeted discussions on certain areas that may be good fits for you and your family. All right, number 4 on the list is just discussing a couple things that people may not realize about Maryland living here. So as I've mentioned in a ton of my other videos, I am a transplant here to Central Maryland from Southern California, where I was born and raised. So a couple things that I like to let people know about, and things that I get a lot of questions about, is people's concern about, the winters here. So what to expect, what does that look like? So to be honest with you, my first winter here in Maryland, January of 2016, we moved here in June of 2015. We got a 3 to 3.5 foot snowstorm. It was crazy. We had just moved into our first new place here, and I was shoveling the driveway. I was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna have to be doing this every year? This is crazy. We have not had a snowstorm that bad since, which probably means we're due, right? But ever since then, a lot of, like our last winter here, we didn't get a single snowstorm. It was crazy. We got, a few little flurries, things like that, it didn't even stick. And that's not most winters. Most winters we're probably getting, at least, 1 to 2, 3 to 6 inches that are normally gone within 24 hours because the next day it warms up, or the same day it warms up. Maybe that happens in the morning and then it jumps up to 45 or 50 that day. So it just tends to be very, very mild. So I wouldn't necessarily be freaked out about the winters. So, we can talk about that more if you have any questions about that. But, and then as mentioned, we're probably due for a pretty big snowstorm here in the next year or two because it's been a while. But those are definitely infrequent when it comes to the big snowstorms. Now we do get, the nights get cold, so you want to be prepared for that. But it does tend to be very mild when it comes to our winters here. And then number 2 to be aware of is Marylanders love their beaches. So this is something that all summer long, everyone's kind of working around their summer schedules. They're working around, when are we going to the beach? Are we going to the Outer Banks in the Carolinas? Are we making that Ocean City annual trip like a lot of people? Are we going to go to maybe the Delaware beaches where it's a little slower? There are so many options here within that 3 to 4.5 hour drive range that you definitely want to be aware of, and kind of just, that's a way of life here in Maryland. So definitely being prepared for that and kind of seeing what the best fit for you is, and definitely knowing that you have those beach summer options here in Central Maryland. All right, and last but not least is number 5 that we get a lot of questions on is, can I close on my home in Maryland the same day that I close on the sale of my home, maybe in another state, somewhere that's not within Central Maryland? And the short answer is Probably. It's going to depend on the state that you're coming from, because every state is so different when it comes to, are you an at the table state? Is there a recording time frame that kind of delays things? So, we'd have to have a more, kind of in-depth conversation about that. But when it comes to Maryland, how it works. So if you are purchasing a home from out of the area, we can absolutely do that. The bigger question is going to be, is there a contingency on a previous, or an ongoing home sale of your existing home? So that's going to be kind of where a little more of the details are going to have to be kind of panned out. So, but let's say you're not, I can send someone to you no matter where you're at within the continental US and have a remote notary to you, and we can close, no issues with that. Maryland is an at the table state. So what that means is, when all parties sign, ownership transfers right there instantaneously. We do not wait to record or do anything like that. So, so that's kind of how Maryland works. I don't know, exactly, how any other state works. That's kind of going to be where a little more of the details have to be kind of figured out. Can you close on a home in Maryland the same day that you close on your existing home out of state? Definitely. It's going to have to depend on where you're coming from. We're going to try to push those things as early in the day as possible, so there's time to kind of sign for the Maryland one in the early afternoon and make sure that everything can be done, and in time for everything to just, all monies to be received, right? So you got wire cutoffs, through the Fed, usually around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's something that we want to be aware of. But it can definitely be done. So if you have questions about that, if that's something you're looking to coordinate, it's definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot of things that have to happen, but it definitely can get done. So feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions about coordinating that and exactly what the details of that look like, so you can have that smooth transition on your move here to Maryland. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you ever have any questions or need anything at all, please feel free to reach out, and we will see you at the next video.